Destitute, desperate and hungry, the victims of this year's devastating floods that hit KwaZulu-Natal are still trying to come to terms with their misfortune. But the country has moved on, with tempers running high. To avert a stampede, 20 people are let out at a time to collect food parcels.
It's chaotic in here as people wait their turn to get their first batch of food in more than 2 weeks.
With government unable to assist, they have now become dependent on handouts.
By the time government comes up with monies and put a budget together, we've already hit the ground. And we're always first to get to the ground. Governments take a long time to decide how much money they're getting from national and how they spend their monies.
Meanwhile, it's alleged that funds allocated to repair flood damage and resettle communities affected by the KZN floods in October 2017 have still not been accounted for and allegedly misappropriated.
If houses are still not built as of now, that money was misappropriated, and you will see what will happen. Those houses, they will then be pushed under the current money that we just passed for 2019.
As we focus on what has led to this year's high death toll in the floods, which left 86 people dead, hundreds have been displaced and are now facing hunger. Durban is still reeling several weeks after heavy rains caused extensive flooding when a violent storm swept through suburbs, informal settlements and villages. Houses collapsed, rooftops were blown away, damaging roads and infrastructure. A number of mudslides buried people alive, leaving behind a trail of death and destruction.
It's a massive figure. Probably one of the biggest disasters I've been involved in, with such a high loss of life. Also the big area it was spread over as well. So a very tragic incident. Planning going forward, there will be a lot of planning going forward to try and minimize such effects happening again. We've had it in the past, we've had it now.
When the storm abated, 86 people had died. Hundreds were displaced, causing millions of rand damage to infrastructure. The Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs claims when the floods hit KwaZulu-Natal in October 2017, the government began talks with communities to resettle them to safer areas, but they refused to move.
We have ongoing discussions to say these houses are built in a flood plain areas. These houses are prone to mudslide. These houses should be relocated. So we have had a number of those discussions and negotiations. Unfortunately, the nature of our communities is that it's very difficult to move. But also other people have invested a lot. They'll build nice big houses. So if you are to move those people, you can't build them the very same structure that they have.
The highest death toll was among people living on the margins of society, those living in informal settlements near rivers and rural villages with homes built on embankments. It created a huge problem for rescue teams as they struggled to get to communities in distress.
Access is always an issue. However, we did manage to access them. Some of the scenes they had to walk to because not even if the infrastructure was there, it had been washed away or was covered by flooding rivers. When you have a mudslide, it's a half the yield can disappear. And you can imagine the amount of chaos and mud that has to be dug through to try to find somebody. Where their dwelling was, it's no longer there. The whole side of the embankment has moved.
According to IFP councillor Mdun Kosi, a member of the eThekwini Metro on the opposition benches, after the floods in October 2017, the municipality requested the national government's assistance. At the time, the cost to repair post-flood damage was estimated to have been more than 500 million rand.
Are you saying that this money was misappropriated?
Well, the signs are there, because if the money was used properly, we were not going to be affected by the storms, the floods like this, because the storm drainage in 2017 were the cause of what happened to the people's house. But I can hear the mayor denying that storm drainage is not the cause this time. It is the cause.
Cocter has denied any corrupt activities meant to address issues related to flooding in 2017.
The role of Cocter in this case is to coordinate, but the monies go directly to the line functions. So we wouldn't, as far as we are concerned, there is no record of any missing funds.
Meanwhile, a Durban hotel is suing the eThekwini municipality for 140 million rand over flood damage. It alleges that the city failed to properly manage the stormwater system. Nkosi says he's concerned that the millions of rand requested from government for this year's floods could also be lost to corruption.
That money was misappropriated, and you will see what will happen. Those houses, they will then be pushed under the current money that we just passed for 2019.
This year's KZN floods are said to be the worst in living memory, affecting thousands of people, not knowing where their next meal would come from. As the gift of the giver's truck drove into the valley a month ago, there was jubilation in this village, which is situated about 120 kilometers from Durban, where the floods first hit earlier this year. The truck carried much needed food supplies for more than 500 people affected by the floods.
We are in a place called Jesus Location. It's in the outskirts of Port Shepstone. Here we've invited 4 wards for all those people that have had rain damage, whose homes have been washed away and had some sort of damage. We invited them to this hall to give them food hampers and a few other gifts so that they could sustain themselves for a few months.
The KwaZulu-Natal floods spread far and wide. After hitting the eThekwini Metro on the 23rd of April, it travelled further inland, decimating communities and breaking up infrastructure. It then travelled further down the south coast, making landfall almost a day later.
Yasaba kakhulu washaya uvalo ikasaba nje sagcina nendlini eyodwa isikhathi yiwa ngangicaba ukuthi yawa wadena ngasaba ngathuthumela nje salala nje sibhekisa silale ngalolu langa ngihlobo idonseka nalena esaba nqanga angisaba kakhulu.
According to the provincial government, KwaZulu-Natal will require an estimated 1.2 billion rand for post-flood reconstruction. In April, President Cyril Ramaphosa visited some of the disaster areas, promising financial support.
I immediately contacted our treasury and said, do we have money to assist our people? And they said, President, we have the money.
But when we spoke to the mayor, they were still waiting for the government to release the necessary funds to assist communities affected by the floods.
Whilst we are waiting for our government to decide and tell us what it's going to do, we are helped by these people whom you found here, like gift of the givers, like banks. But whilst we are waiting for that, as the municipality too, we have been burying the people who died during the time of the floods. And we are waiting for government to say, yes, as this municipality, we are allocating you so much, which we don't know how much it is.
At this point, the affected communities are dependent on the assistance of business people and the goodwill of charity organization, Gift of the Givers.
Government needs to identify that we are in a crisis here on the South Coast. A lot of pledges have been made by government of millions and billions. We need to see it quick. We don't need them to delay and follow all the red tape that normally takes place. Communities are in hunger, they're in need. People don't have any more homes. So government needs to realize the seriousness of this whole thing.
During our visit to the area, the people had lost patience after many days without food. To avert a stampede, they are let out 20 at a time. Inside the hall, the pressure reaches boiling point as they try to break through the cordon.
It's chaotic inside here as people in this area of KZN wait to collect their food. It's been more than 2 weeks since they first received food after the floods hit this area of KZN.
The majority of people waiting were the vulnerable, the elderly, children, young mothers, women with children on their back. It was a relief for this day and the next few days, but they didn't know what the future held.
Sijabule kakhulu ngani yami ngoba ukudla kwethu kunethile imvula beyingena ngomnyango ingena na iphuma naphansi emhlabathini kwaba amanzi konke kwavele kwabola besingazi ukuthi kuyabola makuthelwa amanzi.
Ukudla kukho ekhaya ngisizwa omakhelwane. Ngisizwa omakhelwane ukudla kwami kwalimala ngemvula le ikhona. Akuculeka. Namhlanje ngibonge kakhulu kuba ngithole into edliwayo nalamaphasela engiwaphethe. Sokwazi ukuthi abazukulu badle. Mina asengidla into encane base ngimdala abazukulu bazalwa izingane zami ngihlezi nabo.
Businesses donated a meager R500,000 towards buying more food and other essentials for affected communities here on the Natal South Coast.
As the rains come down, people here say they are fearful that there could be more flooding in the area, bringing about more devastation.
Disaster management patrolled the area just in case the people required assistance as they made their way home to what remained of their homes. They are kept hoping for a permanent solution. In another ward, we are shown around by the local councillor.
We just got a hope that the municipality will do something.
Councillor, we saw the desperation of the people today. How long have these people been without food?
It's since this rain started, as it started on the 23rd to the 24th, then they most of them, they were without food.
Since the floods hit this rural community of KwaZulu-Natal more than a month ago, the community are still relying on handouts. The local government says they haven't received any funds from the national government and are using provincial funds to take care of community needs. Nestled in the rolling hills of KwaZulu-Natal outside Durban is Kwasanti village. We visited the Zamisa family as they mourned the passing of 17-year-old Nonhlanhla, one of the victims of this year's floods. After the night vigil, it was time to prepare her for a journey to a final resting place.
right kanjani uNhlanhla mangimthuma esiba nje esikoleni mangithi uNhlanhla ngicela ungihambele ungenele hambe ongithengele esitolo uNhlanhla mengazathi uthi gogo wangilapha uNhlanhla mengabe uthi kambe ngitshela ushukela bese nje gogo first ngiwashe imfomo ngibe sengiyokuthengela ngempela ngodwa ngisabheka uNhlanhla washe imfomo seyiqedile gogo nginginike imali ngihambe ngothenga uNhlanhla mama kuyingane kalithanda ukusonta esina yenjanje ingoma ikusatha yakhe ingoma athi lusina abe esikoleni abashiya imfomo ahamba ayosina phesheya.
The destructive force of the deluge has changed the landscape of this quiet village forever, leaving behind a horrid scene. According to the community in the area, it began raining heavily on that day. The rain started at 9 a.m. At about 4 a.m. the next morning, there was a huge landslide with a lot of mud and debris from the houses on top coming all the way down here, crashing into the Zamisa family home, killing little Nhlanhla Zamisa. Gogo Zamisa says her home was a 3-bedroom structure built of wooden planks, cardboard and zinc plates. It was a death trap which offered no resistance to the extreme weather conditions. Nhlanhla was asleep in her bed when the mudslide hit the shack. Villagers found her lifeless body among the mud and debris.
Kwashayeka ngiyabona mangicabanga ukuthi ingongolo phela lezi ezidukhuza kusho ukuthi zezangamandla nodaka nenhlabathi kusho ukuthi wamshaka elele sembedeni yamshaza umkhafulela phansi mangicabanga ngoba kwakuzimpompolo amazi emaningi amazi ehlamphezulu emaningi anje zamazi ukudilika phezulu no tin house wami oqala ongasodongeni wehla wa tin house abazoshaya owami tin house wehla wazohlikela yena nanodaka wamshaya uNhlanhla kusho uNhlanhla atholanga ukuthi aphume ngoba ngangube lo mfalo waphuma kusho ukuthi waba nembobo encane yokuphuma namanzi amanzi amxina amanzi washona ezansi kuze abantu bani unebha wami ezansi.
Lucky Sefalako showed us where his shack used to be. He says he's fortunate to have escaped unharmed. Lucky says with nowhere else to go, he will soon rebuild his shack and start over.
Actually, to clean the whole place, we know where we're standing. I think it's about 2 meters down where my house it was from, how we're standing. We know how high we are from here now. If you look at the jungle, how down it is, it's gonna cost a bit.
Okay. So all this that we're standing on now was the mud that came from the top?
From the top, the whole top of it, we're still on top. We're a bit high to 2 meters from down. If we're gonna dig down to get our concrete from down, you look at it, it's a bit good spending. If you look at it from here, look at it. See how down they are. See how down it is.
So this is the mud?
This is my neighbor where the house it was.
Gogo Zamisa has been living here for 25 years. She had come here in the hope of a better life from a farm in Zululand. There is no basic infrastructure like roads and stormwater drains to prevent flooding. The terrain is a muddy wasteland dotted with illegal electricity cables which are lethal when stood on.
Lana asinawo amanzi store asina toilet sisendaweni nje sihlalele namanzi nje sinawo sasazenzela ngoba sitshela abantu uhulumeni senze lokuthiwa inyoka nyoka amanzi asithengela amapayipi sazifakela amanzi egcekeni amanzi nanka la anje avala amashawa buka wana khona kunamashawa lapha alokhuzila akanawo amanzi.
With the visual over, the church elders lead the way as the casket was carried down a steep incline of more than 500 meters. We tread lightly. The terrain was slippery. The erosion caused by the floods was visible everywhere. We finally got to the road as the coffin was loaded onto the hearse. The floods have cost families money they do not have. Cocteau says the provincial government doesn't keep emergency funds for disasters.
We normally do not budget for disasters. However, there is the National Disaster Fund that gets available in case a province is declared a disaster area. We have made an application to the national government through the National Disaster Center that we be declared a disaster province, and that declaration has been accepted by the national government.
Nonhlanhla was one of two people being buried on this day. The other person was a young boy from another village who also died in similar circumstances. But while the government had previously committed to provide for safe housing, for them it was too late.
Housing people is a priority, making sure that they are safe, but also the prevention of any more damage to properties, because you've had a lot of landslides, which were as a result of a lot of deaths, fatalities that we experienced.
A group of young girls from the school where Nonhlanhla practiced Zulu cultural dancing performs a ritual for their friend whose life was cut short. The moving ceremony was attended by government officials and people from affected villages. Their fate is similar. They live in hope that one day the state will provide for safe housing.
25 years later, it's clear that we will always be vulnerable in these areas because of the infrastructure and so on, the design and everything else. So we will, for quite a long time, be vulnerable in these areas. Mostly, it's makeshift structures and very old structures. And you'll find that this is one of the areas where influx from previously homelands or rural areas.
This cultural dance was a fitting tribute for the young girl from Kwasanti who liked to dance, attended church and respected her elders. It was also a grim reminder of how people in rural communities have been forgotten and have little chance against natural disasters.